storm outside rattled the windows like a warning. It was one of those nights where the sky cracked open every few minutes, momentarily turning my dark room into a flashing strobe of cold blue light. I couldn't sleep. Not because of the storm, but because of the silence in my head. Ever since Haley stopped replying to my text 3 days ago, something inside me refused to rest. Haley was my best friend, the kind who'd FaceTime you at 2 a.m. just to show you how her cat fell asleep in a cereal box. We talked every single day. There were no goodbyes, no signs, no fights. She just vanished. The last message she sent me was a single sentence. If I call you after 3 a.m., don't answer. At first I thought it was a joke. Classic Haley, always into creepy stories, late-night horror videos, and urban legends. But the tone didn't match her usual teasing. It was short, final, like a warning. It was now 2:57 a.m. I sat on my bed, phone in hand, the storm still raging outside. I don't know what possessed me to stay awake, but some part of me needed to know. Maybe it was curiosity, maybe fear, or maybe something else, something colder. Then, it rang. My phone lit up, the name Haley glowing bright against the darkness. 3 a.m., exactly. I froze. The room felt colder. My thumb hovered over the screen. I told myself I wouldn't answer. She told me not to, but the ringing kept going, longer than usual. Too long, as if the phone wasn't going to stop until I did something. And I did. I answered. Haley. My voice cracked, barely louder than a whisper. What I heard on the other end wasn't breathing. It wasn't static. It wasn't even silence. It was scratching, fingernails on wood. Then a whisper, like someone holding the phone close to their mouth but speaking from far away. Don't look behind you. I spun anyway. There was nothing there. But something had changed. My reflection in the mirror wasn't moving. It stood still, smiling. I dropped the phone. The call ended. And when I picked it up again, her contact was gone. So was her number. So was she. I didn't sleep after that. I couldn't. The image of my own reflection smiling, before I did, haunted every blink. It wasn't some trick of the light. It wasn't a dream. I knew what I saw. My body had frozen in that moment, like my nerves had turned to needles. And the worst part? That smile. It wasn't mine. It was hers, Haley's. By morning, I was a mess. Eyes bloodshot, voice dry, hands shaking. But more than fear, I felt something else. Guilt. I had answered. She told me not to, and I did it anyway. If this was some kind of curse, I had invited it in. I tried calling her again. Her name wasn't in my contacts anymore, but I remembered her number. Muscle memory. I had dialed it 1,000 times before. But when I called, a mechanical voice answered. The number you have dialed does not exist. I checked my text history. Nothing. Like she'd never messaged me. Like she'd never existed. No, that wasn't possible. I searched for her on social media. Instagram, TikTok, everything. Her profiles were gone. Not just deactivated, but erased. The comments under our old photos said things like, "Who is this?" And, "Why are you posting with a stranger?" Stranger? Haley and I had known each other since middle school. I scrolled further, and the most recent photo we took together, 2 weeks ago at the pier, had changed. She was blurred out, like someone had taken an eraser to her face and body. Just me, smiling at the camera alone. Oh, I couldn't take it. I ran to her apartment, banged on the door. No answer. An old man from across the hall stepped out. "You looking for someone?" "Haley. Haley Quinn." "She lives here," I said, breathless. He squinted. "Kid, I've lived here 20 years. Ain't never been a Haley on this floor. That unit's been empty for months." I nearly collapsed. Then just before I turned to leave, I heard it again. The scratching. Soft, from behind her apartment door. Followed by a whisper. "You shouldn't have answered." I stumbled back, heart racing. The hallway seemed longer now, stretched, warped. The lights above flickered like a bad signal. I ran. When I finally got home, breath hitching in my throat, the mirror in my room was cracked, a long, jagged line splitting my reflection in two. And on the mirror, written in what looked like black ash, 3 a.m. wasn't the beginning. The writing on the mirror didn't fade. I tried wiping it with a towel, water, even bleach, but the black ash smudged into my fingers like ink from a dead thing. It wasn't paint, it wasn't dirt, it was something else. And the words stayed etched in the glass as if it had burned into the surface. 3 a.m. wasn't the beginning. If that wasn't the start, then what was? I stared at myself, watching my own eyes for any sign that the reflection would do something again. Smile, move on its own, blink at the wrong time. But it was just me. Until the radio turned on. I didn't own a radio. The static buzzed from somewhere in my apartment, low and hissing, crawling through the walls like a whisper that had no throat. I followed the sound into the living room. My TV, completely unplugged, was flickering on and off, flipping through blank channels. Then it stopped on one. A dark room, a shaky camcorder view. A girl sitting on the edge of a bathtub, staring straight into the lens. My blood went cold. It was Haley. She looked tired, pale, eyes red. She opened her mouth to speak, but the screen flickered violently, and static returned. "Haley!" I screamed, fumbling for the remote, for anything. I pressed buttons, but it didn't respond. Then the screen snapped back, her face now closer, too close, almost pressed against the lens. Her mouth moved again. This time the audio came through, a whisper. They answered first. "Now they want you too." Then the screen went black. No static, just silence. I stared at my reflection in the blank screen. It wasn't me anymore. It was her, Haley, but not the Haley I knew. This version had black, hollow eyes. She mouthed something, over and over. I leaned closer. "Come find me." I staggered back and turned the TV off manually, yanking the cord from the wall, even though it had already been unplugged. My heart thudded in my ears. This wasn't just about a missed call. Something had pulled Haley into a place I didn't understand. A place that was trying to reach back through me. I needed answers, real ones. So I did what people do when they're desperate. I went to the internet. I typed the sentence into the search bar. "If I call you after 3 a.m., don't answer." Thousands of results appeared. Forums, videos, threads, and one post stood out. The 3 a.m. call game. Do not answer, ever. The forum looked like it hadn't been updated in years. The background was black, the text in neon green. One of those old sites people used to make before social media swallowed the internet. But what caught my attention wasn't the layout. It was the warning banner at the top. "This ritual has claimed real lives. You were warned." I clicked the main thread. The 3 a.m. call game. Real experiences. There were dozens of posts, stories, all eerily similar. My friend dared me to play it. I got a call from a dead number. Now she's gone. The voice said it would trade me for the one I loved most. I picked up. My reflection hasn't matched my movements since. I kept scrolling, heart pounding. Then I found a user named Crowthroat89 who had posted something that made my stomach knot. "Whatever you do, don't answer the call. It doesn't matter who it says is calling you. It's not them. It's never them. Answering links you to it. That's when the hunt begins." I messaged the user, not expecting a reply, but just as I hit send, a new notification popped up. "Crowthroat89 is typing." I stared at the screen as 3 dots blinked. Then the message appeared. "It already touched you, didn't it?" I didn't know what to say. I replied, "It was Haley. She called?" I answered, "She's missing." A long pause. Then, "Go to the lake, the one with the old pier, before midnight. She might still be between." Between? I messaged back again, asking what they meant. but the user had deleted their account. Just like that. All the posts vanished. The page refreshed itself and returned me to the homepage. Only now the warning banner was gone, like it had never been there. But I knew which lake they meant, Silver Pine. Haley and I used to go there when we ditched school. We'd sit on the edge of the crumbling dock and throw stones into the black water, talking about ghosts and the afterlife, like it was all a game. It was never a game. I packed a flashlight, my phone, and her favorite bracelet I still had. Maybe it was foolish. Maybe I was already too late. But I had to try. By 11:30 p.m., I was standing at the edge of the water. The lake looked dead, still, like a mirror too dark to see through. The dock groaned beneath me as I stepped out, wood creaking under my weight. Then I saw it. At the very end of the dock, lit by nothing, no moon, no flashlight, stood Haley. Soaking wet, not blinking, smiling. "Haley!" My voice cracked, barely above a whisper. She didn't respond. Her hair hung in wet strands over her face. Her clothes clung to her body like they'd just been peeled from the bottom of the lake. Water dripped from her fingertips, pooling on the dock beneath her feet, silent except for the slow, steady drip. 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 I took a cautious step forward. The dock creaked louder, and that sound, that damn sound, was the only thing grounding me to reality. "Haley, it's me," I said, lifting her bracelet, my hand trembling. "I'm here. I came for you." She tilted her head, and her lips curled into a smile. Not warmth, not relief. Wrong. Like someone wearing her face was trying to guess how she used to smile. "Come closer," she said, her voice. Not right, too clear. Like it was coming from inside my own skull instead of the air around me. I stepped back instead. The lake behind her rippled, though no wind touched the water. Bubbles surfaced. Something shifted beneath, just beneath, like a shadow refusing to stay hidden. And then she took a step toward me. The wood beneath her hissed and smoked like her feet were made of acid. The closer she came, the more my skin burned. My vision blurred. My flashlight flickered. "Why did you answer?" she asked. My throat clenched. "Because you were scared. You begged me not to leave you alone." "I wasn't talking to you," she whispered. The lights in my head exploded. I staggered back, heart pounding so hard I thought it might punch through my ribs. She wasn't looking at me anymore. She was looking past me. "Don't turn around," she said. But I did. There was nothing there. When I looked back, Haley was gone. Only the lake, empty dock, not even wet footprints. But something else was left behind. A phone, black, old, the kind with a cracked screen and a flickering LED. Not mine. It rang. 3 a.m. The screen lit up with one word, "Haley." I should have thrown it into the lake. I should have run. But I didn't. I picked it up and answered. "Hello?" The word barely escaped my lips, dry and shaking. Silence. No static, no wind. Just that thick, unnatural quiet that seemed to stretch between worlds. Then click. Not a hang-up, a door opening. I held the phone closer to my ear. Heavy breathing. Not mine, not Haley's. Something deeper, animalistic, than a voice. "You heard her. She wasn't calling you." I froze, my legs rooted to the dock, the cold from the lake seeping through the wood, climbing up into my bones. "Who are you?" I asked, barely more than a whisper. You answered. "So now you are part of the exchange." The line went dead. I stared at the phone as the screen flickered to black. Then, with a quiet hiss, it began to melt. Melt in my hand like plastic left in fire. I threw it instinctively, and it hit the dock with a soft sizzle, dissolving into black smoke. My hand had no burns. No trace it had been real at all. But I felt it, deep inside me, like something had coiled around my ribs and was now tugging inward. And that was when I saw the marks. 3 long, pale scratches had appeared on my arm. I hadn't felt them happen. No pain, no blood. Just there. A warning? Or a countdown? I didn't wait to find out. I ran back to my car, the dock groaning behind me like it had witnessed too many endings and was ready to give way. As I turned the key in the ignition, my headlights illuminated the tree line. She was standing there, Haley, still dripping, still smiling. But her eyes, God, her eyes were completely white. No pupils, no color, just fog. And beside her, a tall, dark figure, no face, no outline. Just the shape of something that should never walk upright. I drove. Didn't stop until I got home, locked every door, turned on every light. I should have been safe. But then I checked my phone. There was a new voicemail. Time stamped, 3 a.m. I pressed play. And Haley's voice whispered, "You took my place." I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. I sat in my room with the lights on, staring at my phone like it might explode. The voicemail kept playing in my head. "You took my place." What did she mean? What place? And why did her voice sound grateful? I tried to delete the message, but it wouldn't go away. Every time I hit delete, it just reappeared, like it was burned into the system. Then my phone buzzed again. A new message. This time it wasn't audio. It was a photo. I hesitated before opening it. It showed me. Asleep, in my own bed. Only, I hadn't been to bed. I hadn't even moved from the couch since I got home. The photo was taken from the corner of the ceiling, like there was a camera up there. But there wasn't. I ran into the bedroom. Empty. Sheets untouched. But on the nightstand, placed neatly like a forgotten offering, was a cracked mirror. I didn't own a mirror like that. I picked it up carefully, heart pounding. There was something written on the back, carved in jagged strokes. "If you see it, don't break eye contact." I almost dropped it. Who would write something like that? Then, tap. The sound came from the bathroom. Tap, 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 like a finger on glass. I crept toward the door, every instinct in my body screaming at me to run. But I opened it. The bathroom was empty. But the mirror above the sink was fogged over. I hadn't used hot water, and in the center of the fog, something had written a word with an unseen finger. Look. My reflection stared back at me, but not quite right. It was smiling. I wasn't. I backed away slowly, and my reflection didn't. It just stood there, grinning, watching. And then it blinked, once slowly, while my own eyes stayed wide open in horror. That's when I realized it wasn't just watching. It was waiting. I slammed the bathroom door shut, but I could still feel it. That smile burned into my memory like an afterimage. My own face twisted into something I didn't recognize. Something patient. I shoved a towel under the door crack. Stupid, maybe, but it made me feel like I was holding something back. I paced my apartment, phone clutched tight, half expecting it to buzz again with another message or picture. But it didn't. Instead, something much worse happened. My TV turned on. I hadn't touched the remote. Well, the screen was black, but the sound was on, a distorted voice like an old tape being played backward. I couldn't make out the words until I walked closer. Then I heard it. "Let me in." The screen flickered, static crawling up like frost on a window. A shadow began forming in the center, tall, hunched, its arms impossibly long, dangling past its knees. I turned the TV off, unplugged it. It stayed on. I backed away, breathing heavy, and that's when I saw it, my reflection again. Not in the mirror, but in the dark screen of the TV. And it wasn't alone. Something stood behind it, behind me. I spun around, nothing. But I felt it. The air was too still, too thick, like the room was holding its breath. I ran back to the bathroom and yanked the door open, ready to confront whatever was behind the mirror. But the mirror was gone. Just blank wall where it had been. Instead, carved directly into the tile, were 3 words. "Stop watching me." My blood ran cold. I turned to leave, but in the hallway mirror, one I hadn't even realized was there, my reflection stared back with pitch-black eyes. And it moved a half-second too slow, like it was struggling to keep up, like it wasn't me anymore. I covered the hallway mirror with a sheet. I couldn't stand to look at it anymore. Not because of what I saw, but because I was starting to notice the differences. Tiny at first. A flicker when I didn't move, a grin I never made. Eyes that held things I'd never felt. And then I saw it blink again. Slow, deliberate, like it knew I was watching. Like it wanted me to notice. I slept on the floor that night with every light in the apartment on. But sleep didn't come easy. When it finally did, I dreamed I was drowning. Not in water, but in mirrors. 1,000 reflections of myself, all screaming silently, pressing against invisible glass, begging to be let out. And in the center of them all was Haley. Except her face was cracked down the middle like porcelain, and something else was underneath, watching me. When I woke up, it was 3 a.m. Of course it was. And there was a sound coming from the kitchen, a low hum, like static. I crept toward the door, heart in my throat. The fridge was open. The light inside flickered, casting long shadows across the floor. And in front of it stood me, my back, my clothes, even the scratch on my left arm. It was going through the fridge like it lived here, like it belonged. Then it turned around slowly and smiled. It was me, but not right. The eyes were empty, hollow, like glass marbles dipped in ink, and its mouth stretched too far, curling up toward its ears. "Why do you keep fighting it?" it whispered. I ran, locked myself in the closet. I could hear it laughing in the kitchen, slow and broken, like a recording on loop, like it was mocking me. Then it stopped. Silence. Until a soft knock came at the closet door. Once, and twice. Then a voice, sweet and familiar, whispered, "Let's switch places." I held my breath, staring at the closet door. The knocking stopped. Silence. Then the voice again, soft but urgent. "Let's switch places." The words echoed inside my skull like a dark promise. "Who are you?" I whispered, voice trembling. "Who do you think?" The voice answered, chillingly calm. "I'm what Haley became when she answered that call. And now, I'm here for you." I wanted to scream, but no sound came out. "Why me? Why not just take her?" I managed. "Because I need a host," it said. "Someone to wear the face, to walk in the world. You answered, so you're mine." My mind raced. How had this nightmare begun? A simple call at 3 a.m., and now my entire existence felt like a trap. But what if I refuse? The door creaked open slowly. A pale hand slipped inside the closet, fingertips cold as ice. "I don't think you have a choice." I backed into the corner, heart pounding so loud I thought it would burst. Suddenly, a brilliant idea struck me. "What if I make a deal?" The voice hesitated. "A deal?" "Yes. You want me. I want my life back. Maybe we can trade." The hand retracted. "I'm listening. I'll answer your call, but on my terms." The voice laughed. "Bold. I like that. But remember, if you break the deal, I take everything." I swallowed hard. The clock on the wall struck 3 a.m. again. Time was running out. The room seemed to close in around me as I prepared to make the most dangerous call of my life. I fumbled for my phone, hands shaking so badly I almost dropped it. But then I remembered. There was no signal in my apartment. The call had to be made outside. I grabbed my coat and rushed out into the cold night. The streets were empty, but the shadows felt alive, creeping along the walls like they had a life of their own. I dialed the number that Haley's voicemail had come from, the one that started this nightmare. The line rang once, twice. Then a voice, low and whispery, answered, "You're late." "I want to make a deal," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. There was silence. Then the voice replied, "What do you offer?" "Freedom," I said, "for Haley and for me. I'll answer your call, but only when I'm ready. You let us go until then." The voice laughed, a sound like rustling leaves. "Very well," it said. "But remember, when the clock strikes 3 a.m. again, your time begins." I hung up, heart racing, wondering if I'd just made the best deal or the worst mistake of my life. When I turned around, I saw the pale figure standing behind me, Haley. Her eyes were back to normal. She smiled softly and whispered, "Thank you." But I didn't feel relief. Because somewhere deep inside, I knew this was far from over. The night air was cold against my skin as I stood alone on the street, the deal still ringing in my ears. Haley was gone. Free, they said. But I felt the weight of the promise like a shadow clinging to my soul. At midnight, I locked myself inside, trying to prepare for what was coming. The clock ticked closer and closer to 3 o'clock a.m., the cursed hour. At 2:59, my phone vibrated. A message appeared on the screen. "Your time begins." I froze. The silence was suffocating. Then the phone rang. The same haunting ringtone. I answered, my hands shaking. "Hello?" A voice whispered, cold and hollow. "Now you belong to me." Suddenly the room darkened. The walls seemed to breathe. My reflection in the window grinned, a grin I didn't wear. I realized then that the deal was never a release. It was a chain, a never-ending cycle. And I was trapped, waiting for the next call. At 3 a.m.,